So I made a terrible purchase, and now it means I've got to do a lot more work on this thing to get it ready for Stampede. So follow along as I try and fit some air shocks to the front of this truck, and I have no idea how to set up air shocks, but we're going to give it a good go. Let's get into it. Right, so as you've seen in the intro, we have some air shocks for the old girl, for Scruff. What we've got for the front is a set of Pro Fender. They're 11-inch travel, 2.5-inch wide air shocks, and for the rear we have the Terra Firma 16-inch ones, 2.5-inch wide. Also, obviously, as you can already guess, supplied by TFR4x4.com. Yeah, these red ones here, the Pro Fenders, brand new, well out of our budget, but we got them anyways. And I've got a set of used 16-inch for the rear. So obviously in the last episode you've seen, I put all of this together, and now I'm going to cut it all off. I'm going to try and skip as much of the cutting and faffing as I can, then bring you guys back when we're actually starting to set stuff up. So yeah, let's try and get on with it and see what we can do. So the first thing I've done, because I like the ride height of this truck as it is, what I've done is jacked it up to ride height. As you see, we still got clearance for some up travel. I've measured between the bump stop plate for the factory axle to where the bump stop would go. Measured that. I've written it on the wall so I don't forget. But that's just so I can keep the same ride height as I have now, so I can set the shocks up to have the right amount of shaft showing. And I'm hoping they're going to line up with that hole that I already have in my checker plate. But if not, we'll cut a new hole. So I'm going to cut some stuff off. I'm going to lower this down, springs out, and then yeah, go from there and start mocking it up. And then hopefully at some point we will get to the rear. But yeah, let's get the fronts in first. Let's get to it. So as you can see, a bit of progress happening. Cut the spring perch off there. Cut the spring perch off there. I've got to do a load of tidying up and stuff. I've notched this bracket down on the axle. Set the shock in. And as you can see, yeah, it's fairly large. Obviously these are 14-inch travel. So I'm going to have to do some measuring and see how much further down this is going to come to here. And then we'll go from there. But I think, realistically, it's going to fit. But I just need it to look correct and obviously work right. My only concern at the moment is obviously the axle is this way a bit because of the panhard bar. So when it comes back up, it's going to be at an even funnier angle. So I'm hoping once the bracket's there and it pushes it out a bit, it's going to look about right. But obviously I won't know that till I compress everything and see what it does. But yeah, that's where we're to now. Cut that side off, get that one mocked up. I'm going to have a faff about with this, do some measurements, and then I'll be back with you. We have got the first shock in, fitted up the best we can work out how to do it. As you can see, I've got a bit of tube here. I'll cap this off at some point, make it look neat and tidy. That's just to take any flex out. As you see, we've come a bit above the checker plate here, just to give us a little bit more up travel, simply because realistically the 14-inch shocks for the front are excessive. As you can see, it's at full droop right now, which is just a crazy amount of travel, very close to the chassis. It's not touching, there is space, just not a lot of it. That is simply because of the panhard bar and how far the droop is. So at some point I'm going to have to modify the panhard bar to mid-travel on these, just to make it sit so much better. Or, you know, if it allows, we'll either one link the front, or we will try and do some kind of really short 4 link, because obviously the engine and everything is in the way. But yeah, that side is on. We've jacked it up, you know, had a look to see what ride height kind of situation would be. Looks okay. It's, like I say, the shock is longer than I want it to be, which means the truck's going to sit slightly higher than it used to. Obviously, that's how high it sits at the back at the moment, but hopefully it won't look too stupid. If it looks completely stupid, I'll find some short shocks and go that route. So next, we've got to do this side. See, I've got the bottom perch cut off, top perch cut off. The shocks will come off again to clean and paint everything, but it's all off now. So what I'm going to do is get that shock and mock up the brackets, get it in there, measure up that side, match this side. Jobs are good and easy as that, see. So something I've always kind of struggled with when it comes to these shocks is finding out what angle I need to have them at. So basically, they aren't straight up and down. There is a bit of tilt to them once the axle comes up. But yeah, so I think it's like 2 degrees or something you've got to have. I'm sure there's a specific measurement that they'll tell you. But yeah, we've gone for it. It seems to travel okay. It doesn't seem to bind. So we will see what it does. Obviously, the axle comes back as it goes down. So that's why the shock has come back as it goes down with these long old front arms. So yeah, let's crack on with the other side. So, we're back up the unit on a lovely British day, raining outside. As you can hear, I'm a bit healthier now. Turns out I had pneumonia, so that's why my voice was a bit crook. But the plan today is to get the other one of these shocks fully mounted on that side. Ideally, tonight, I want to have it sat under its own weight. That's my goal for tonight. As I'm sure you can see, it's under its own weight. We kind of just cracked on with it that evening. But yeah, it's all in. This shock's got a bit more angle to it. I think the axle isn't necessarily central. That's probably to do with my making my own panhard bar, but that's something I gotta get into, sort out eventually. But as you can see, it's all in. All looks alright. I need to see what that's going to articulate like. I'm slightly concerned with it, but hopefully it'll be alright. Yeah, it's just kind of be a send it and see situation. So my plan is now to clean everything off, front, back, pump up the tyre, hopefully get it running and outside, and then we can look at getting these back shocks on as well. Huh. That's not ideal. That's not ideal either. Battery's dead. Dead. So let's see if we can get that sorted out quickly. So while we're trying to recharge this little Optima in here, we'll get all this crap put away and yeah, try and get this girl out, tighten everything up. So it's all on, all tightened up. Just been up the track just to give it a quick test. Make sure nothing moves too much. Obviously we've got to test articulation and whatnot. But the front is pretty much there, so I'm going to have a good old tidy up. And then we'll get it driven in. Start on the rears now the shocks have come. The truck is in, and next thing we're going to have to do is cut off, obviously, the spring perches top and bottom, and the shock turret, shock mount things top and bottom as well. They've got a fair bit of weld on them, they've got a fair bit of weld on them, and obviously they're quite close to the bump stop. I'm hoping the bump stop can stay where it is, but we won't know until we've cycled the shocks and we've seen what they're going to do. Yeah, so I'm going to get on, do that. I might be able to move those bump stops back to the axle now because there'll be space there between the shock. But yeah, I'm going to cut that off. First measure ride height, then cut that off and make sure we get everything sat exactly how we want it to be. So it'll be jack up, axle stands, well, ride height, jack up, axle stands, cut stuff. Let's do it. Time lapse was cut a bit short because the camera died and then I went on home for a bit. So I've cut the spring perch off. Obviously, shock mount is still attached, so is the one on the axle. I'm not bothering to cut the one off on the axle for the sake of... I might cut that off actually. Spring perch on the axle is staying because I've got to redo this whole axle at some point, make a truss kit and do. But what I'm looking at here is the position of the rear shock. So from what I understand, you want it as upright as possible, which mine is not, but you want it as far out on the axle as possible, and you want a little bit of inwards angle. I'm sure there's some technical stuff for it, so I'm going to go to that tube there because it makes the most sense for this. I've got quite a bit of angle on the shock. I'm going to do some Googling and make sure that's correct. But yeah, so it will be welded to the axle about there, welded to the cage about there. Let me see if I can get this to sit without falling off. No, I can't. So I'm going for about 150 mil of shaft showing, and then in this box over here we have the Blackbird Industries Terra Firma shock mounts. They are exactly right for these shocks and they all fit on there nicely, so it will be a case of notch this guy to fit on this tube, something like that, somehow, and notch one for the bottom, weld that on, make sure it all looks right. And yeah, that is about it for this side in theory. Obviously we've got to get the shocks gassed up and then we've got to adjust bump stops, but I might do that in the next video. What I'm going to do is I'll tack this shock in and I will probably close out the video with the rear shock in place, ready to do full weld, just to get this video out. Obviously the front's on. Originally the video was just going to be putting the fronts on, then the rears turned up, so I started on the rears. But yeah, so I'm going to get that guy tacked in so you can see what it's going to look like, and I'll close out the video there. There we go, first side tacked in. all notched up, and on there, on the bottom, I actually had it mocked up the wrong way round, and I realised it hit once I done it. As you see, it's jacked up. Got a bit of up travel, a lot of down travel. Obviously, bump stop is going to still work, but it's going to need to come down a fair old ways to actually hit it, or I'm going to have to build up the plate to catch the bump stop. But that's easy enough. So yeah, mirror that to this side, and we'll have it all in. Job's good in. Well, thank you guys for watching, and those of you that have made it this far, I really appreciate it. I'm going to leave it at this point in this video because it's going to be dragging on a fair bit now, this video, thinking of all the videos that I've recorded. I might take some of them out because there's going to be a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'll do another video on this, finishing it up. It'll probably come up as something like Stampede or Bust, because that's kind of what it's getting down to now. We've got 3 and a bit weeks to get this thing ready for Red Winch Stampede, and we're not ready at all. We got some work to do, so I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.